Hello everyone, welcome back. We are here to keep going into Genesis stories, Genesis characters. We're not going in a perfect timeline, but I'll organize all this for my account eventually. But today, we are going to go over the Tower of Babel, which is a structure built by man after the Garden of Eden and even right after the flood. It takes place right after the flood subsides and goes away after the 40 days and nights. It's a great example of human pride and our desperation to build something for ourselves that can meet or even surpass God. So, I have my notes here. Let's just get right into it. Tower of Babel, where the story comes from, the Table of Nations, Genesis 10. Before Genesis 11 describes the tower, Genesis 10 sets the stage through the genealogy of Noah's sons. And in Genesis chapter 10, verses 8 through 10, we read, Nimrod, the first mighty warrior on the earth. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel. Nimrod is tied to Babel, suggesting that the city, and possibly the tower, was part of a growing imperial ambition. The text emphasizes centralized power, a warrior king, building cities across Mesopotamia, and the world had one language, which we read in Genesis chapter 11, verse 1. The story opens with a unified humanity. Now the whole world had one language and the same words, meaning complete communication, no cultural or political division, and collective unity and shared purpose. This is important because Genesis is about disunity caused by sin. Humanity migrates and settles, Genesis chapter 11, verse 2. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. Shinar equals Mesopotamia, likely area of Babylon, modern Iraq. The phrase moved eastward is symbolic in Genesis. East equals away from Eden, away from God's presence, toward human self-rule. The same direction Cain went, which was one of Adam's sons, Cain and Abel. Same direction people are drifting spiritually. So since Adam and Eve ate the apple from the Garden of Eden, they are dabbling in defining good and evil for themselves. That's what the tree of knowledge is. They're going to find out for themselves. God says, don't go over there. They say, well, let me decide. And then after they eat from that tree, all of humanity is spiritually traveling in that same direction. Oh, well, let me decide. How about I go out here in this playground of sin and I decide for myself? The technology breakthrough, Genesis chapter 11, verse 3. Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. This is big. In Mesopotamia, stone was rare. Bricks equals new technology. Baked bricks equals innovation. Could build higher than anything before. So with these baked bricks, they could ascend higher and build a more colossal structure without it falling apart. This instantly signals human technological advancements fueling human pride. They also say, let us build for ourselves. That phrase appears repeatedly. The tone is self-exaltation, not worship. So they are becoming obsessed with what they themselves as a humanity can build aside from God. They're saying, well, we don't need God. We're figuring all this out ourselves. We can build our way to heaven. We can build our way to God. We know what's going on. Humanity's two goals, Genesis chapter 11, verse 4. Goal number 1, build a city. The city symbolizes centralization, empire, human security apart from God, and uniformity over diversity. Cities in Genesis often represent human attempts to create meaning without God. Cain builds the first one, which was Adam's son. Goal number 2, build a tower with its top in the heavens. This does not mean they literally thought they could reach outer space. It does mean a cosmic mountain, a connection point between heaven and earth, a place humans ascend toward divine status. In Mesopotamia, this is exactly what a ziggurat was. A ziggurat equals a staged temple tower, designed to draw the gods down or elevate humans up. The Tower of Babel is almost certainly a ziggurat. So once again, this is technological pride from humans, materialistic pride. Their technological innovations are making them think that they can create an intersection between the heavens and the earth. They think that either they can ascend through this tower or God himself will descend to them. They think this will be a intersection point between humanity and the heavens/gods. Goal number 3, make a name for ourselves. This is the core sin. This same phrase repeats later when God promises Abraham, which we went over Abraham yesterday. I will make your name great, in Genesis chapter 12, verse 2. Babel is humans trying to take by force what God later gives by grace. And this is also similar to Abraham getting with a maidservant to have a child because he wanted to see the blessings that God was promising faster than they were actually coming about. Goal number 4, prevent scattering. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth. But God specifically commanded, be fruitful, fill the earth. Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, and Genesis chapter 9, verse 1. They are trying to resist God's command, build security apart from God, create a controlled, centralized human empire. God comes down. Genesis chapter 11, verse 5. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower. Biblical irony. Humans think they built something monumental. To God, it is so small he has to come down just to see it. This is literary mockery. The tower isn't as impressive as they think. So God is lowering himself to see their great, grand structure that they think will reach to the heavens. He said, oh, this is your Tower of Babel? Oh, how cute. It's like a little Lego construction. Next, God diagnoses the problem. Genesis chapter 11, verse 6. If as one people with one language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. This doesn't mean humans could become omnipotent. It means unified rebellion leads to industrial-scale evil. Collective sin accelerates rapidly. Pride plus technology plus unity equals repeat of pre-flood corruption. So as we remember, humans delved into sin because of the tree of knowledge. Then God floods the earth to give a reset because the wickedness had just gotten too crazy. And then even after Noah built the ark in the 40 days and nights, once again, humanity is still concerned with their pride and their sin and trying to create something for themselves that is against God, that is saying that they don't even need God. So this is the level of sin that humanity is getting to once again. God intervenes not to sabotage human progress, but to protect humanity from self-destruction. God's countercommand, Genesis chapter 11, verse 7. Come, let us go down and confuse their language. Notice the echo. Humans, come, let us build. God, come, let us go down. The divine council language, us, echoes Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Confusing language undermines their pride, their project, centralized empire, human self-deification. It forces what they resisted. Diversity of nations, cultures, and language. So humanity being obsessed with their unification, their same language, their same technological innovations they're all using as a team to build up to the gods, God is now striking them with confusion and disunification. They're scattering them, the exact thing that they didn't want to happen, the exact thing that would tear down their pride completely, because they can't act on this unified pride if they're all confused by one another and can't understand each other. Humanity is scattered. Genesis chapter 11, verse 8. So the Lord scattered them from there over the face of the whole earth. This fulfills the commands humans refused. The city is abandoned. Construction stops. This is judgment, mercy, and a new beginning. And you might be wondering, how is this mercy? How is this? Because God could have just destroyed all of them like he did with the flood, but instead he confused their language, which stopped the order of progressing the Tower of Babel even more. The name Babel, Genesis chapter 11, verse 9. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. Hebrew wordplay. Balal equals to confuse, and Babel equals Babylon. To humans, it meant gate of the gods. To God, it becomes confusion, a reversal of human pride. Theological themes of Babel. Human pride versus divine sovereignty. Humans try to ascend to heaven. God descends and stops them. God limits evil. Scattering is not punishment alone. It's protection. Human unity without God leads to tyranny. One language, one city, one tower, one empire, one totalitarian system. Babel sets up Abraham. Next chapter, Genesis 12. Humanity tries to build a name. God chooses Abraham and says, I will make your name great. Babel equals human striving. Abraham equals divine grace. So God is still returning. Even though humans keep trying to go against him and go into sin and refusal of God, he's still coming back and choosing people and revealing himself and trying to keep the connection between him and humanity. Babel becomes a symbol for human arrogance empires that oppose God, systems built on self-exaltation, and Babylon in Revelation. So that is the story of Babel, for the most part. I have a summary here that I'm going to end it on, but yeah, this is a great example of human pride. This is a great example of humanity continuing playing in sin, even after God gave the whole world a reset. Our pride and our materialistic ambitions continue. We are obsessed with being in direct union with God, even if it is refusing what he says. We are ultimately concerned, in this state at least, with literally building ourselves up to the heavens. We as a people, we will figure this out with or without God. We'll build ourselves to him if he won't come down to us. So, a grand example of pride. So here's the summary. In the end, the story of Babel is not just about a tower, it's about the human heart. Humanity had one language, one purpose, and one ambition: to build upward without looking upward. They used their new technology to construct a world where they could make their own name great, create their own security, and reach the heavens on their own terms. What looked like unity was actually collective pride. What seemed like progress was the seed of tyranny. So God steps down, not to crush humanity, but to protect it. He scatters the people, confuses their language, and breaks the momentum of a world trying to become its own God. And right after this moment, immediately in the next chapter, God begins a new story through Abraham. Where Babel grasps for a name, God tells Abraham, I will give you one. Where Babel tried to gather in defiance, God sends Abraham out in obedience. Where Babel sought heaven by human strength, God promises heaven by divine grace. The Tower of Babel shows us a timeless truth. Human pride builds monuments, but God builds stories. And every story that begins with God leads us back to what humanity was always meant for. Not to rise above him, but to walk with him. And each person that God chooses is a great example of obedience. Right before God flooded the earth, he chose Noah, a righteous, blameless man among the evil doing of his time. And then after the Tower of Babel, once again, God is given a reason to completely turn his back on us. He literally has to descend down to our Tower of Babel, this grand structure that he is belittling into a kid's Lego structure that a parent is coming by to say, oh, how cute, how neat. But God checks our pride before it gets out of hand and confuses our language so that way we can't continue this building. And then right after this act of pride from humanity, God, through his grace and through his mercy, comes down and chooses a man, Abraham, to continue the story, and he promises him blessings and forms a covenant with him so that way he can continue on in his connection with us through the chosen people, through the people that he chooses to reveal himself to. And he emphasizes things like obedience, mercy, and forgiveness to continue and form his story through them. So that's the Tower of Babel. Thank you very much. I'm probably going to do Isaac next. Just going to cover all the main things in Genesis, and then we can hit the next major stories, and we're going to work our way to the New Testament. Even though I've already went over Jesus' life, I'm going to work my way to Jesus so that way we can have more context for when he pops up. So, thank you very much.